and welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to have a look at our SOV, or Sinus of Valsalva, and we're looking for the widest point within the sinus. So I usually like to align the pink hollow circle over my LCA, and most anatomically speaking, most patients do have their LCA lower than their RCA, so this tends to be where the curvature of the sinus is usually the largest on the left coronary cusp and is going to have more impact. However, not always the case, but for this patient, it does flow through. So I will have a look here to see where it is for the widest point of this patient's sinus. And somewhat halfway up the cusp here, we can see that. I just like to scroll up and down just to make sure. And we can see what kind of valve it is, if it's a bicuspid or not. And then we can also see its widest point. But it's also really good to have a look at the calcification pattern. And if it's like this patient, it's on the outside of the leaflet. However, sometimes it's on the inside. And it's good for us to identify to make sure that it's visible so we know where the valve of choice is going to anchor. As we can see here, there's also a bit of thickened leaflet, and that's okay. If there's no calcium, you do have to question if this is an AR patient and whether it's suitable for TAVI procedures. So to begin, we just do 3 single ruler tool measurements. And we always take the measurement to the outside of the cusp, like I have here. And we'll go between the commissure to cusp, and again from cusp to commissure, doesn't matter. And then assign whichever one is the lowest as your SOV. Or in this one, if you want to use the graph on the front page of the report, then you can assign all of them. We usually use this measurement, the smallest one, to help us decide whether it's going to be a balloon expanding or self-expanding, and if it's suitable. So would a 29 fit in here, or would a 26 balloon expanding fit here? Again, those measurements might be a little more, so 29 or 31 for a self-expanding valve, up to you. At this point, I would take my image from my report, and usually denoting that your right coronary cusp side tends to usually be the limiting factor. This is just because of the pressures on the right side of the heart are usually lower for most patients. Once you've gained those measurements, then we will continue all the way up so we can see a circular measure. And this is where we're looking for our Sinotubular Junction, and also our ascending aorta way above that as well. So usually after our right coronary takes off, after our left is where we're going to start to find this STJ point. And then once that's clear, we can use the two-ruler tool, and we can use this measure to find our min, max, and average. This is the best tool to use for this, rather than a polygon, especially like this patient that has calcium here. We're going to take it from inside the calcium. We want to exclude it so we know what our limiting factor is. There's a lot of information that we can get from this here. So we have our distance height from the annular plane. We also have our min, max, and average. However, you would have noticed in my last video that we did our STJ heights for both the left and right coronary cusps. However, we can also do our non-coronary cusp STJ. This one always has our yellow marker visible. I tend to do it on the green side just because that's the last one that I used. And sometimes it's already there. Otherwise, we can just drag it down or create a new one. This is also very important to know if there's any calcifications on that leaflet, or if it's going to have any impact on that STJ, depending on what kind of valve we're going to put in. Now, this shows us how we can get all the STJ's measurements for left, right, non-coronary cusp, and overall STJ height as well. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, I'll join you in the next episode.